Vietnam. 1966, a B-52 Stratofortress rumbles down the runway at Andersen Air Force Base, Guam. Inside the cockpit, a 58-year-old Brigadier General prepares for combat. But this isn't just any general. 20 years earlier, he was the biggest movie star in the world, James Stewart, Hollywood royalty, Academy Award winner, America's golden boy. Now gray-haired and aging, he's volunteering to fly a bombing mission over North Vietnam into enemy fire. At an age when most men are planning retirement, the question everyone asked why. The answer reveals something about duty that modern America has forgotten. This is episode 6, The General Who Never Stopped Serving. May 1945. World War II ends. Europe liberated. Japan surrendered. The bombers come home. James Stewart returns to Hollywood. War hero, combat veteran, 20 missions over Nazi Germany, Distinguished Flying Cross, 2 years in hell. Hollywood rolls out the red carpet. Studios desperate to get him back. Contracts worth millions. The golden age of cinema awaiting its biggest star. But Stewart makes a decision that stuns everyone. He doesn't quit the military. While every other star trades their uniform for a tuxedo, Stewart does something different. He joins the Air Force Reserve, remains a colonel, refuses to let go. His agent pleads with him. The war is over. Come back to movies full time. But Stewart sees something others don't. The war might be over, but the job isn't finished. Nobody understands what he means. Not yet. Because for the next 23 years, James Stewart will live 2 lives. Movie star Monday through Friday, military officer on weekends, 1 foot in Hollywood, 1 foot in uniform, and the uniform never quite comes off. 1946 to 1959, Stewart rebuilds his Hollywood career. But something's changed. The roles are darker now. George Bailey in It's a Wonderful Life, contemplating suicide on a bridge. The cynical photographer in Rear Window obsessed with violence. The detective in Vertigo spiraling into madness. Critics notice the shift. The innocent boy next door is gone. In his place stands a man who's seen too much. Who knows what darkness looks like? Who can't pretend the world is simple anymore? But while Hollywood dissects his performances, Stewart maintains his military commitment. Every month, Air Force Reserve duty. Training exercises, strategy meetings, flight hours logged. His fellow actors find it strange. Why does the biggest star in Hollywood spend weekends on military bases? Why does he fly bombers when he could be on movie sets? Stewart never explains. Just shows up, in uniform, ready to serve. 1957. The Cold War intensifies. The Soviet Union launches Sputnik. America feels vulnerable for the first time since Pearl Harbor. The Air Force expands rapidly, building a nuclear deterrent against Soviet aggression. Stewart, now a full colonel, becomes instrumental in Strategic Air Command. He helps train new bomber crews, flies B-47s and B-52s. At age 49, he's still climbing into cockpits, still mastering new aircraft, still preparing for war. Then comes the recognition nobody expected. 1959. President Eisenhower signs the promotion order. James Stewart becomes Brigadier General, 1 star on his shoulder, the only actor in American history to reach general officer rank. Hollywood throws parties. The press goes wild. Movie star becomes real general. The headlines scream. But for Stewart, it's not a publicity stunt, not an honorary title given to a celebrity. This promotion comes after 17 years of continuous service. The rank is earned through countless flight hours, training exercises, and unwavering commitment. And he takes it seriously. Because in 7 years, that rank will take him back to war. 1964. Vietnam War escalates. American advisors become combat troops. The draft begins. Body bags start coming home. Hollywood explodes in protest. Anti-war sentiment sweeps through the entertainment industry. Actors march in the streets. Some burn draft cards. Others flee to Canada. But Brigadier General James Stewart sees it differently. He watches young men shipped to Southeast Asia. Boys, really. 19-year-olds who've never been in combat. facing an enemy they don't understand, fighting in jungles that swallow men whole. Stewart remembers his own terror. 1943, his first mission over Germany. The ice-cold fear in his gut, the certainty he was about to die. The bomber next to his exploding in a ball of fire. These kids are feeling that same terror right now, this very moment, in rice paddies and mountain passes 10,000 miles away. And while Hollywood protests, Stewart makes a decision. 1966. He's 58 years old, a general, a legend. He could sit behind a desk at the Pentagon. He could retire with full honors and a generous pension. He could stay in his Beverly Hills mansion and never see war again. Instead, Stewart requests combat duty. The Air Force brass are stunned. Generals don't fly combat missions, especially not 58-year-old generals, especially not generals who also happen to be Hollywood legends. They try to dissuade him. He's too valuable, too old. The propaganda disaster if he's captured or killed would be catastrophic, but Stewart insists. He flew combat in the last war. He'll fly combat in this one. Those boys are going over there. He's going too. Finally, reluctantly, the Pentagon relents. But with strict conditions, no frontline ground combat, limited missions only, maximum security protocols. Stewart doesn't argue. He just wants to serve. July 1966. Brigadier General James Stewart boards a B-52 Stratofortress at Andersen Air Force Base, Guam. Destination: North Vietnam. He's going back to war. The B-52 Stratofortress, 8 engines producing 185,000 pounds of thrust, capable of carrying 70,000 pounds of bombs, the most devastating weapon in America's conventional arsenal, Operation Arc Light, strategic bombing campaign against Viet Cong positions deep in enemy territory, carpet bombing from 30,000 feet, the enemy never sees it coming, just sudden apocalyptic destruction from above. Stewart's mission is classified. The press doesn't know. Hollywood doesn't know. Even his wife Gloria knows only that he's on military assignment somewhere in the Pacific. The flight crew treats him with cautious respect. This is Brigadier General James Stewart, Academy Award winner, American icon, but also a 58-year-old man about to fly into a war zone. Can he handle it? Will age betray him? The answer comes at 30,000 feet over North Vietnam. The B-52 crosses into enemy airspace. Below, the jungle stretches endlessly in every direction. Somewhere down there, enemy anti-aircraft batteries wait in camouflage positions, surface-to-air missiles, MiG fighters patrolling, a sky filled with death. Stewart sits at the observer station, watching radar screens, monitoring communications, his hands steady, his face calm, his voice professional over the intercom. The bombardier calls out coordinates. The bomb bay doors open with a mechanical whine. 70,000 pounds of ordnance falls toward the earth below. The B-52 shudders from the weight loss, banks hard left, turns for home. No enemy fire, no drama, just a mission completed. Professional, efficient, exactly as trained. But for Stewart, it's more than just another mission. It's a statement. Not to the press, not to Hollywood, not even to the Air Force, to himself. At 58, he's proven something. He can still serve, still contribute, still stand with the young men who carry the burden of war. The B-52 lands safely back at Guam hours later. Stewart climbs out, legs stiff from the long flight. No interviews, no photographs, no celebration, just a quiet return to his quarters. But word spreads through the military. The general flew combat at 58 into Vietnam voluntarily. Respect ripples through the ranks. From the greenest private to the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the message is clear. James Stewart has just reminded everyone what duty really means, but Stewart's connection to Vietnam goes deeper than one mission, deeper than duty or honor or patriotism. It's personal. Ronald McLean, Stewart's stepson from his marriage to Gloria. A young Marine lieutenant, brave, idealistic, determined to serve his country just like his stepfather. 1969. Ronald deploys to Vietnam as an infantry officer, leading men through jungles, facing ambushes, living with the daily terror of guerrilla warfare. Stewart knows exactly what his stepson faces: the fear, the chaos, the impossible moral weight of sending young men into danger. But Ronald is a Marine. He volunteered. He's committed to the mission. For months, Stewart and Gloria wait by the phone. Every call brings both hope and dread. Every news report from Vietnam twists the knife a little deeper. Then comes February 1969, the worst day of their lives. Ronald McLean is killed in action during an enemy ambush. He died leading his men, died doing his duty. The telegram arrives at the Stewart home in Beverly Hills. Gloria collapses. Stewart's face turns to stone. His stepson, dead at 24 years old. The funeral is private, full military honors, flag-draped coffin. A bugler plays taps while Stewart stands at attention in dress uniform. His face remains expressionless. But inside, something breaks that will never fully heal. This is different from World War II, different from the men he lost over Germany. Those were brothers in arms, but this is his son, his family, his blood. Hollywood expects him to speak out now, to turn against the war, to use his grief as a platform for protest, to join the anti-war movement and condemn the policy that killed Ronald. Stewart does the opposite. He never criticizes the war publicly, never uses Ronald's death for political purposes, never betrays the men still fighting in the jungles. Because that's not what Ronald would have wanted, and Stewart knows it. Instead, he does what he's always done. He serves. He continues his Air Force Reserve duties, visits wounded veterans in hospitals, writes personal letters to families of fallen soldiers, attends military funerals for young men most people have forgotten. He carries the weight silently, the way soldiers do, the way his stepson would have wanted. 1968 to 1973. The Vietnam War drags on. America tears itself apart. Protests turn violent. Cities burn. The country divides into camps that can barely speak to each other. Through it all, Stewart remains steady, still a Brigadier General, still serving, still showing up. But age catches everyone eventually. The missions become harder, the flights more exhausting. The body doesn't recover like it used to. Stewart pushes through it all, but the Air Force watches carefully. They see what Stewart refuses to admit. He's slowing down. 1973. Stewart turns 65. The Vietnam War finally winds down. American troops begin withdrawal. The long nightmare approaches its end. Air Force regulations mandate retirement for reserve officers at age 60. Stewart has already received 5 years of special extensions because his service record is so exceptional. But the time has finally come. The Air Force brass approaches him gently. It's time to hang up the uniform. Stewart doesn't argue, doesn't plead for more time, doesn't pull strings or call in favors. He understands. The military isn't about individuals. It's about the mission. And the mission requires young men with sharp reflexes and strong backs. His time has passed. After 30 years of continuous service from 1940 to 1973, James Stewart removes his uniform for the last time. The retirement ceremony is small and intimate. Military brass, close friends, family, no media circus, just soldiers honoring a soldier. They present him with a folded American flag, the same kind that draped Ronald's coffin 4 years earlier. They play taps one final time, the mournful notes echoing across the parade ground. Officers line up to shake his hand. Some have tears in their eyes. These men know what Stewart gave, not just the missions or the years, but the legitimacy. When Hollywood mocked the military, Stewart defended it. When celebrities dodged service, Stewart embraced it. When the country turned its back on Vietnam veterans, Stewart stood with them. Stewart says few words at the ceremony. His voice cracks slightly as he thanks his fellow officers, honors the men who served, and remembers those who didn't come home, especially Ronald. Then he salutes one last time, turns sharply on his heel, walks away from military service forever. But in another sense, the uniform never really comes off. For the next 24 years until his death in 1997, Stewart continues to show up wherever soldiers gather. Veterans hospitals, Air Force reunions, military memorial services, base anniversaries, always in a suit now instead of a uniform, but standing straight, saluting sharp, remembering names and faces. The younger veterans don't always recognize him at first, just another gray-haired old man at a military event. But when they learn who he is, the reaction is always the same. Stunned silence, then deep respect. Because this is Brigadier General James Stewart, the man who flew combat in 2 wars, who lost a son to Vietnam but never wavered, who served for 3 decades when he didn't have to. At VA hospitals, Stewart sits with wounded veterans, men missing limbs, men with invisible scars, men the country tried to forget. He doesn't give speeches or offer empty platitudes, just sits, listens, shares his own struggles with the nightmares that never fully stopped. Because he knows what it's like to come home changed, to carry weight no one else can see, to fight a war that continues long after the shooting stops. He's been there, still is there in many ways, and the veterans know it. They can tell, one warrior recognizing another. Stewart never seeks publicity for these visits, never calls photographers, never uses his continued service for career advancement. He just shows up. Because for James Stewart, service isn't something you do for a few years and then stop. It's something you are forever. James Stewart left 2 legacies when he died in 1997. The first legacy is cinematic, 74 films across 5 decades. It's a Wonderful Life. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, Vertigo, Rear Window, The Philadelphia Story, Harvey. Films that defined American cinema, characters that shaped American identity, an Academy Award, 5 additional nominations, recognition as the 3rd greatest male screen legend in Hollywood history. That legacy is secure, permanent. Film students will study his work forever. His movies will play at Christmas for generations. His star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame will never fade. But there's a second legacy, quieter, less celebrated, unknown to most Americans who only knew him as an actor. The legacy of the citizen soldier, the actor who became a real general through 30 years of faithful service, the movie star who flew real combat missions in 2 wars, the celebrity who served without seeking publicity or praise. That legacy lives in different places. It lives in every citizen who chooses service over comfort. Every professional who maintains reserve duty while building a civilian career, every person with privilege who refuses to hide behind it when their country needs them. It lives at the Air Force Academy, where Stewart's example is taught to cadets as the model of how fame and service should coexist. It lives in veterans' hospitals, where wounded warriors still remember the movie star who visited them, who sat with them, who understood them. It lives in the idea that the uniform matters more than the spotlight. That duty supersedes celebrity. That serving your country is a higher calling than entertaining it. Stewart's military service earned him Brigadier General rank, the Distinguished Flying Cross with oak leaf cluster, the Air Medal with 3 oak leaf clusters, the French Croix de Guerre, and eventually the Presidential Medal of Freedom. But more than any medal or rank, he earned something that can't be pinned on a uniform or displayed in a case: respect. The deep, genuine respect of men who served alongside him, who saw him at his worst, who knew he didn't have to be there but showed up anyway. That respect is the real legacy. It's why Air Force bases still display his portrait, why military museums dedicate exhibits to his service, why veterans organizations still honor his name, not because he was famous, but because he was faithful. The question lingers across the decades. Why? Why did James Stewart, the biggest movie star in the world, spend 30 years as a military officer? Why did he risk his life at 58 flying into Vietnam? Why did he maintain his commitment even after losing his stepson? The easy answer is patriotism, love of country, duty and honor, and all those abstract concepts people invoke at 4th of July speeches. But it goes deeper than that. Stewart understood something most people miss. something his generation knew but modern America has largely forgotten. Freedom isn't free. Someone always pays the bill, and those who benefit most from freedom have the greatest obligation to defend it. Privilege creates responsibility, not exemption. The more you're given, the more you owe. Success should demand contribution, not purchase immunity from sacrifice. Service isn't beneath anyone, it's the highest calling, the greatest honor, the truest measure of citizenship. Stewart had every excuse to avoid military service. His age, his fame, his value to the entertainment industry. After Ronald's death, he had the ultimate excuse to walk away bitter and broken. He rejected every excuse. Not because he loved war, the nightmares proved he hated it. Not because he craved glory, he avoided publicity about his service. Not because he had something to prove. He'd already proven everything in World War II. He served because citizenship meant something to him beyond the hollow rituals most people perform. Not just voting once every few years, not just paying taxes and complaining about politics, not just wearing flag pins and standing for anthems, but active citizenship. The kind that asks what you can give instead of what you can get. The kind that says if young Americans are going to war, then successful Americans should go too. The kind that understands freedom requires guardians and guardians require sacrifice. Today's distance between Hollywood and the military would have been incomprehensible to Stewart. The idea that celebrity purchases exemption from service would have struck him as fundamentally un-American. He lived by a different code. One where privilege obligated rather than elevated. Where success created duty rather than immunity. Where being given much meant giving much back. That code feels almost alien now. A relic from a different America. A time when duty and sacrifice weren't just empty words politicians used, but concrete commitments people lived by. But maybe that's exactly what makes Stewart's example so important today. Not as nostalgia for a supposedly simpler time, but as a reminder of what citizenship can look like when taken seriously. The movies made him wealthy and famous, but the service made him whole. The roles won him Oscars, but the uniform gave him purpose. The fans loved the actor, but the military loved the man. And in the end, Stewart cared more about being a good man than being a great actor. 1973. James Stewart walks away from active military service at age 65. 3 decades in uniform, 2 wars, countless missions, 1 stepson buried at Arlington. The uniform comes off, but the soldier remains. For 24 more years, he continues showing up wherever soldiers need to be reminded that their sacrifice matters. He never forgets them, and they never forget him. Because James Stewart proved something rare. You can be famous and faithful, successful and serving, a star and a soldier, all at once. The movies made him a legend, but the military made him a man. Next episode, the final chapter. The marriage that lasted until death, the nightmares that never fully stopped, the wonderful life that almost wasn't, and why America still loves Jimmy Stewart. This is Legends of America, Episode 7, coming soon.